Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 14th episode of Battles and Voices. I'm Lathika, and I'm the founder and host.
And I'm Camden, and I'm the co-host, and we serve on the executive team of Vitals and Voices.
Battles and Voices is a way to bring together mentors and professionals in the medical field to share their experiences with our audience.
Please welcome our guest, Jackson.
Jackson, thank you so much for being a part of this episode. It means a lot to us that you'll be one of our guests today on Battles and Voices. Feel free to introduce yourself and share a few things about who you are.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me. I'm Jackson. I'm 29 years old. I'm a dentist and I'm specializing in pediatric dentistry. I grew up in Utah. I went to dental school in North Carolina, and in my free time, I really like to run, and I'm always looking for ways to help serve other people.
That sounds amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to enter healthcare and your line of work currently?
Yeah, I served a 2-year mission for my church in Guatemala, and there I actually was exposed to a lot of big oral health disparities and just disparities in general, right? A lot of poverty. When I came home, I realized that I really liked a lot of different areas. I was considering law, I was considering medicine and dentistry. My dad's a general dentist, and so growing up, I had a lot of opportunities to learn more about dentistry. And just upon shadowing other people and kind of the experiences I had living abroad, those kind of pushed me into the dental field. So
That's amazing to hear.
That's amazing. So what did you learn after living in Guatemala for over 2 years while serving your church mission?
I learned Spanish for one, which tried to learn in college, in like high school. That
hmm
just didn't work out very well. I don't think unless you live in another country and kind of like fully immerse yourself in a language and a culture, it's just really hard to kind of learn and master. I feel like I really learned how to empathize with other people, which is super important for any area of medicine, right? You definitely can't be in it for the money. You can't be in it for status. You really have to kind of develop an emotional intelligence and learn how to empathize with people who a lot of times don't want to be at the doctor. They don't want to be at the dentist, right? But you have to help kind of calm their anxiety and take care of them as best you can.
Well, that's amazing to hear. What motivates you to keep on going while things get challenging with work or otherwise?
I think that a lot of experiences that we go through in life, most of the time life is really good, and then there can be really challenging moments. And sometimes people get those challenging moments earlier in life, and I've had my fair share. And sometimes they come later in life. I think that uh, the experiences that have been difficult that have come earlier in my life have helped me recognize just how resilient I can be, and that resilience can be a good example for other people and help other people who are also struggling. I think that it's really important to stay physically active as well, whether it's medicine or dentistry or any professional career. It's super important to find one hobby that keeps you healthy physically, right? Because that physical health keeps you, in my opinion, a lot of times, helps you stay more mentally and emotionally healthy too. So for me, that's running. I've considered expanding that into like biking or maybe swimming, though I think everybody needs something, whether it's Pilates or cycling or whatever it is. That's so critical to help with your physical and mental health.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I definitely agree. So, being the president of the largest college level volunteer tutoring program in the country is prestigious and wonderful. So, how did that teaching give you unique a perspective about certain things?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I was a volunteer with our tutoring organization, which was, like you said, the biggest volunteer collegiate level volunteer tutoring organization in the country, and then I ultimately my last year of college became the president of that, and I think that that put me into a position of realizing that at the end of the day, most people have different advantages in life. Um, you see in college that there's those who do really well and those that do really poorly. A lot of times, those who are doing really, really well, not always, but a good chunk of the time from what I saw, have a lot of different advantages that people, who maybe are struggling don't have. They might have, a lot of times they don't have to work, right? Like they have all their free time that they can devote to one thing. They have family who are already doctors. They have all these connections that makes it a lot easier, in my opinion, to succeed. Whereas if you have to support yourself all through college and work 30 hours a week or 20 or 30 hours a week on top of taking all these classes and you have all these additional stresses, that doesn't mean that you're less capable or less smart. It just means that you're kind of at a disadvantage, to be honest. And so it was really eye-opening helping people recognize that, you're not most people who are trying to go into pre-health or pre-dental professions are, very dedicated, they're very capable. But you have to kind of recognize in what category am I at, right? And are there any things that I can do to kind of whether it's free up my time or sacrifices that you might have to make to succeed. Because at the end of the day, we can't control what families we were born into. We can't control, certain things, but there are other aspects of life that we can control, and that we have to really just be honest with ourselves and seek help if we need it. So.
I totally agree with that. I've seen that throughout like a bunch of high school as well. And I can say it probably goes the same for college level as well. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
What made you want to go into pediatric dentistry after working as a general dentist?
It's a good question. Yeah. Throughout all of dental school, I was interested in pediatric dentistry. We didn't get as much exposure, as you might think, but we did have volunteer days, like Give Kids a Smile, where we would take a whole day and do free dental work for kids in the community in North Carolina, where I was at. And other experiences working with children. It wasn't until, it came later for me where I started working in general dentistry, actually at my dad's dental office. And there were some unexpected and really tragic life events that kind of set that in motion. That wasn't necessarily the plan. And so it kind of caught both of us off guard. And it was pretty difficult to integrate. I felt really super grateful for my dad helping me, kind of get back on my feet. But still, his practice wasn't really built for the two of us just because of how unexpected things were. And I started seeing a lot of children as I worked with him, and we both kind of talked about it and decided that, hey, that might be something that I should consider more seriously. And so I started doing my research, talking to lots and lots of people, and I applied to pediatric dentistry. And now here I am. So I'm still, I just started my program at the end of June, so it's still pretty early on, but I've already learned a ton, and it's a lot of fun. It's definitely challenging at times, but the challenges are different than working with adults, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
That's amazing. I definitely want to also go into the pediatric field when I, finish college and, medical school or PA school. But yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, could you elaborate more on some of the activities you were involved in while working at a test preparation company?
Yeah, so I worked for a company called Boot Camp. I don't have any affiliation with them now, but at the time, it was started by a dentist, a group of different dental professionals, and they were focusing on teaching dental students for the DAT, which is like your entrance exam into dentistry. And now they've expanded into medical and a whole bunch of different areas. But at the time, it was mostly focused on that. And so you know, again, that was an experience of me just that was an experience of going out of my comfort zone and kind of just cold emailing them. And, I knew some people that had worked for them, but I really didn't have that many connections. I cold emailed them. They asked me to send like a test, biology video. They wanted me to make videos since I had a lot of tutoring experience. And so I sent them a video and then we kind of went back and forth with that for a little bit. And then I got hired. So I worked for, it was like a year and a half ish, and produced a whole bunch of, like, kind of like a library of breaking down different biology questions. And that was a lot of fun. It was really cool being able to kind of just plan out videos and edit everything and it was a really cool time. And I felt like I was, paid pretty well at the time and it was really cool. And so even now today, like I'll meet like pre-dental students or people in dental school, and they'll be like, "Hey, I know you. Like, I recognize you." And so there's been a ton of people that are always like recognizing me, and that have reached out and said like, "Oh, you really helped me." And so that's pretty fulfilling. So the story there is if you just ask, right? Like, don't be bold about things. You don't want to be annoying, but if there's something that you really want to do, I think that there's a huge risk in not being bold enough, right? Um, the worst thing that you can do a lot of times is ask for something, and if you ask and somebody says no, then no big deal, right? But if you never ask, you'll never know what could have been.
That's really beautiful to hear. For me personally, an old friend of mine told me that um, if a door doesn't open, maybe a window will. And I've always loved that saying, especially with all the stuff that I've applied for throughout high school and maybe never getting like an email back about it or never getting accepted. That's just something that may happen, but something greater comes down the line. So I
Right.
personally agree with that.
Yeah, and life's
So
really just a journey, or it's the only like the only thing that you can compare is who you were before, right? Like who you were
yeah,
a year ago or something, because there's always going to be somebody that's more attractive or more successful, makes more money, has higher status, right? But the only thing that you can control is kind of like, hey, what are your circumstances and what are you doing to try and improve and reach your goals,
especially with like high school and college, you're constantly comparing yourself around you, comparing like test scores, GPA, rank, like all that just always gets compared throughout the years.
Exactly.
So, what's a project or accomplishment that you're really proud of? It seems like that you have a lot that's happened before, but what are you most proud of?
Yeah, there's a lot that I could say there. I think that I'm most proud that um, I've stuck the course. We'll go with that. So, I don't think we'll go into those details, but there's been a lot of stuff in my life that I think if most people knew, they would say like, how did you not just give up? And how did you not just um, like stop moving forward? Like the most severe things that you can imagine have happened. But I'm really grateful that and feel confident that no matter what comes my way, right, whether it's tragedy, whether it's death, whether it's sickness, I'll always keep trying to like grow who I am as a person and try to help other people, right? Because um, at the end of the day, life's just really short, and you want to try and help as many people as you can and live a just with a lot of gratefulness for every single day. So I think that kind of culminated with like finishing dental school. Um, there's still a long way to go in my career path and my life path, but I think that that was kind of a peak moment in my life that represented a lot of sacrifice and struggle along the way.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you definitely do have to have that perseverance in anything that you do and just, keep motivating yourself that you're gonna reach the finish line pretty soon. So yeah. So I heard you talking about gym. So but besides gym, what are some hobbies or activities you enjoy outside of your professional work?
I think you'll learn, and I felt this way in high school, I felt this way in college, even in dental school, as you like leapfrog all of these different steps of life, you feel at the time, you feel like, oh, I don't have any time. And then you go to the next, like you go from college where it's like, I have no time. And then you go to grad school and you're like, oh, I have less time. And then you go to residency and you're like, oh man, I really don't have any time now. So, as you get older and as you go down this path, you start to lose time. Like you just don't have as much time as you'd like. But, some things, so like a typical day for me is I'm up by like around 6-ish. From maybe 7 to 5:30 or 6, I'm doing residency stuff right now. And then how much time does that leave you for afterwards? I mean, like I run a lot, but I'm also interested in a lot of different things. I really like learning about like watches. Like this is a watch that I have that I really like. Um, I'm into like finance stuff. So in dental school, like for example, I taught it was like an optional thing, but like a little finance course to people, and I've done that with different friends over the years. Like I'm really interested in that in business, um, and and then traveling as well. So. Um, I don't think I've met anybody that doesn't like to travel. I think we all do. It's just a matter of time and money, right? But um, after I graduated dental school, for example, we got to go to Japan as a family, and so um, that was super, super fun. And I hope that in the future someday I have more time and money and resources to be able to to do that more. But those are some things that I like.
I can totally agree with all that stuff, like doing that out of like after all the activities and whatnot. And time is so important. And as a busy high schooler currently, it is so stressful to find time to do like college jobs or and like last year I was never worried about anything because I was like, oh well, I have like a whole other year, like I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah,
And I chose not to write my personal essay over the summer. Worst choice I made.
yeah, yeah.
So
It,
time is important, I will say.
yeah, for sure. No, it definitely is.
So, how are
But
you able to manage your time with work and other hobbies and interests that you have throughout all these leap paths that you mentioned?
yeah,
I love.
I think you have to learn how to get one, I think that like weekly planning is super important. So whether it's a Saturday or a Sunday, you really need to sit down and I like paper planners, which sounds weird, but like I need to be able to see it and write it down and like physically manipulate things just so that I know, hey, what do I have going on this week? And you look out like and ideally I've kind of fallen off the wagon of like what are your quarterly goals? What are your yearly goals? What are the things that you're shooting for? But which is easier, I feel like in college a lot of times because you kind of have a very set schedule. It's like, okay, I know I have this quarter and I have this quarter. Now it's kind of a little bit more fluid with the stage of life I'm in, but um, you should have what are your goals and be able to plan your life according to those goals, right? One of the goals I had this year was to run a marathon. I've done two. And and to like get into residency, and that was another goal that I was able to achieve, but it takes months and months and sometimes years to work towards those goals, right? So cutting out a lot of the junk out of your life is critical, and then figuring out how to do things quickly, right? Um, you have to be fast at things that you're doing. So you could, for example, like if you're going to take the MCAT, you got to figure out what is kind of like the least amount of time that I can spend uh, studying the most effectively to get a really good score. Like that should be your goal. You know, you could take 6 months to study for it, or if you had a really good, solid plan, it could take 3 months. So stuff like that where I've had to, or like when I do my dental notes, right? Like I could sit and write a novel for every single patient, but I've had to learn to get it, like what are the key, most important things and make sure that that's all in there, but also not write a novel. So I feel like a lot of our time is wasted, um, uh, maybe doing things that can be done a lot more quickly. And AI helps with that now too. I don't use that for like dental notes, but like for, other stuff, I'm always using like now, like that didn't exist until like my very last year of dental school, right? But I'll like use Chat GPT and stuff to help me figure out how to plan for something or how to like get stuff done more quickly and then go back and add my touch to it. So those are some of my tips.
Well, those are some great tips, so thank you so much. And to wrap things up, is there any advice that you would like to give students that are maybe watching this episode right now that are struggling to enter your line of work in dentistry or pediatric dentistry?
Yeah, I think that networking is really important. Most of the times, especially when you're young, it's kind of a superpower because professionals want to try and help younger people, just as the truth, right? And you don't realize it until you get older when you're kind of like my age. And if you're asking people for help trying to set up a dental office or something, like they'll be like, yeah, I'll help you, but pay me 20 grand. Like as a kid, as you're younger, as you're in, high school and college, a lot of people are really willing to help out. So if you want to be a dentist, I would highly recommend shadowing dental offices. So call the dentist, send them an email, and most likely they're going to say sure. And if they say no, who cares? It's not that big a deal, right? So um, I also think that it's important to really think about what are your life goals, right? Sometimes we get so set on, I just want to be called doctor. That's my goal. Like, I want to be a doctor, but you don't think about, well, that's going to take you 10 years and, your 20s will be just an absolute grind. And you're going to have to make a lot of huge sacrifices, not only while you're studying, but for the rest of your life. Are those worth it a lot of times? Yeah, but if you're not fully invested, then it could make your life miserable. I know miserable doctors, I know miserable dentists, and it's a lot more common than I ever thought. And people warned me about that, but I never listened. And I can see how you could go down that way just because of how like hard and stressful it can be. But if you really like find something that you're passionate about, then stick with it and make sure to like network and try and um, figure out ways to get your foot in the door, and don't limit yourself just because somebody says, oh, it's too hard or you're not smart enough or whatever. Like once you find something that you love and you're devoted to, then stick with it and just work at it and you can do it. It just might take a lot of time, but you can do it.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. So Jackson, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your experiences in the medical field and all the challenges that you've overcome.
It was incredible to see the growth and passion throughout your journey, and we hope to do the same.
To everyone tuning in, thank you for joining us on this episode of Battles and Voices. Your encouragement and support means the world to us.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to follow, share, and stay tuned for more episodes on Vitals and Voices. We'll see you next time.